Welcome back to Pittman and Friends podcast. I am here with my friend, Congresswoman Sarah Elfreth.
Thanks for having me. This is exciting.
Yeah, it is. It is. I can't believe we haven't had you yet.
I think you asked me like right after Election Day last time, and I was dead tired. So I'm glad I can finally get on.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah, probably. And I think this is going to be even better because you've been in Washington now for a bit of time.
Decade. Is what it feels like.
Yeah. So you and I go back. I mean, obviously we met during the 2018 campaign. Actually, you came to my house, and I didn't know you very well. I think I'd heard of you. I might have seen you once or twice. And you were desperately looking to find a Democrat to run for county executive, and nobody wanted to do it. And somehow talked me into it. So
and here you
we
are.
And you at the time were, of course, running for state senate, and you won. I think you had green shirts. What did they say?
A woman's place is in the Senate.
A woman's place is in the Senate.
Yeah. And now they say a woman's place is in the House of Representatives.
Yeah, you don't want to say just in the House.
Yeah.
No, that wouldn't be the right tone. So I will just start out by saying that I'm a big fan. And I'm a big fan partly because you are such a hard worker and hard fighter, and I never want to be on the opposite side because I think you might win. No, because you really do your homework and you get it done. And so I'm so glad that you're on our team and that you're representing us in Washington. So why don't you start out by, well, first of all, How is it?
Really hard. I don't sugarcoat that for anybody. And I think our politics would probably be better served if we were a little more candid about how challenging these times we find ourselves are.
So you're about to get candid.
Yeah. It's really challenging, and it's not even it's not a partisan thing. It is not easy to be in the minority, and especially in a triple minority that I find myself in. But it's really that is something I could navigate. I've worked with the other side of the aisle my entire career. Every bill I ever worked to pass in the state Senate, 91 bills in 6 years, every one of them was bipartisan. It's really the challenge right now is the abdication of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle of so many of the roles and responsibilities that our founders intentionally placed in Article 1, war powers, power of the purse, and just the and others, but really the overarching sense that we are a co-equal branch of government. And watching many of the decisions of this White House disproportionately and acutely impact our district, because we have 45,000 federal workers. Obviously, immigration has been weaponized. A lot of funding for the things that we care about has been slashed. Watching all that occur and then watching the legislative branch just stand down has been really challenging. And that's not to say I don't have friends who are Republicans. I have actually a lot of friends on the other side of the aisle these days. But it's overarchingly been really disheartening to be a part of an institution that isn't fighting with every tool our founders gave us.
I can see that being really hard for you because I remember watching you go into the Maryland Senate, and you were a rising star very quickly, getting a lot of things done. But how kind of loyal you were to the institution and how much respect you had for the institution.
Before I'm a Democrat, I'm a legislative branch snob. I mean, and I think we all should be. It's the most American thing, right? If you think about. And I taught political science at Towson University when I was in the Senate, and so I nerd out about this. But over the course of human history is how we evolved to the three branches of government our founders gave to us. And it's not a perfect system by any means, but they are very intentional about the potential of the moment we find ourselves in. Very intentional about guarding against what they would call maybe a tyrant, what they would call somebody who...
They'd seen a king or two, huh?
Yeah, and that's why, especially in the House, and I know I used to be a state senator, but I now have allegiance to the House. When they've framed the Constitution, they put the election of U.S. senators to state houses. And in the Constitution, only directly elected federal representative you had was your congressperson. And so to watch that...
The People's House.
To watch that degrade, and to be very fair, I'll be fair to the president right now, it did not start with him. It's been a slow drip over the last 60 years, I would say, particularly around war powers. And then really in the last 30 years around power of the person, budget, and appropriations, we have just ticked away and given away a lot of our power. And it's something I'm very concerned about because we now have an imbalanced system.
Yeah. Yeah, that must be. I think that is sort of fundamental to what a lot of people are feeling about the times that we're in, that even those of us who don't love some of these institutions realize now we have to protect them, and they're there for a reason. Yeah.
I don't agree with every decision of the Supreme Court, but, frankly, they are, in many cases, the kind of last defense here for many things.
Yeah. Well, okay, so then why'd you run? I mean, you didn't know it was going to be like this, I guess.
No, I don't think anybody. I would suggest this is probably the toughest time to be in Congress since the Civil War. Just the long-standing division, partisan division we've seen that's really been, in the last 30 years, gotten so much worse. Obviously, a president who is
So you knew that going in. You knew you were walking into like a war zone.
Oh, yeah. And, before I made my decision, I called folks like Senator Bob Mikulski, who's been a huge mentor to me over the years. I called Senator Ben Cardin. And my style in the State House was very collaborative. It was very collegial. It was very, you worked a bill. I have former Senate President Mike Miller in my head every day in Congress. Work your bills. Mm-hmm. Things don't become law because they're a good idea. They become law because you focus, you strategize, you partner, you collaborate. And that's very out of vogue, I think, in federal politics today. Mm-hmm. I have a lot of colleagues on both sides of the aisle who are very focused on going viral.
Right.
That's not something, I'm good at. Mm-hmm. It's not organic to me, but it's also not my style. And so I was concerned, can I fit in this present Congress? And I have.
Are your skills the skills that even work in this Congress?
It's tougher because there's a lot of folks who just kind of look at me like I'm crazy. Mm-hmm. And I've gotten some pushback for trying to negotiate. But at the end of the day, I respond. I didn't come here to vote no for 2 years. That's not what my constituents deserve. It's not what I ran on. I ran on this idea of getting things done. I won't curse in your podcast.
You say.
Getting things done.
Okay.
And I didn't go to just push no every time. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so I'm trying. We've had some success. I'm excited. I know folks feel really disparaged right now with what's happening. I would love to talk about some of the wins we've had because you know this. We have to be optimists in this work. We couldn't do it every day if we weren't looking towards some of the wins, and that's what I'm really focused on.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would hope that I know that you're well aware that if you look at the numbers in the polling, there's a very good chance that the House is going to flip at least, right, to Democratic majority.
I'll take the politics, like the partisanship out of it. I think what most Americans care about is affordability or lack thereof. Mm-hmm. I hope we talk about BG&E bills today because it's a huge problem. I just bought my first house. I just paid an astronomical BG&E bill, and I know so many people are really struggling to make ends meet between energy costs, housing costs, childcare, elder care, groceries, healthcare, all these things. That's what Americans want us to focus on. Put party aside and focus on that. Yeah. And I don't see, I don't know how many votes I've taken, a couple hundred votes so far in the Congress. Very, very few, if at all. None meaningfully address the affordability crisis, some kind of nip at its heels, but nothing that I think the American people want us to focus on. And I hope they will speak with their votes next year. Okay. So a lot of us think of in Congress the things that you work on are the things that are in the national news. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, we get most of our news as national news because local news is not really. Yeah.
They're not, they don't have the reporters, they don't have the funding. But I've noticed that a lot of the things that I hear about that you work on are local.
Yeah.
So where do you want to start? Chesapeake Bay?
Yeah, let's start with Chesapeake Bay.
Okay.
Yeah. So I serve on the House Natural Resources Committee, so I get to do some bay work there. I get to do park stuff, fisheries, like things we care about. Mm-hmm. And then I serve on Armed Services, which I did not do defense policy at the State House. It's new to me. I come from a military family. I've represented the Naval Academy for almost 8 years. But it's a whole new behemoth of a policy area. But I really wanted that committee assignment because it's frankly the last bastion of legislating that happens in Capitol Hill. Mm-hmm. I mentioned before, appropriations cannot pass a budget on time. We've been living continuing resolution to continuing resolution. HASC, Armed Services Committee, is the last place that we've consistently passed a bill every year for 62 plus years called the National Defense Authorization Act, the NDAA. And there's a lot you can get done through that bill. And we had a really good year last year for local priorities, stuff around support for the Naval Academy when it comes to having a disaster mitigation plan for big storms. We were able to get, and I know you've been working on this for years, and it was total partnership, but prohibiting a second golf course from being built on Greenbury Point, which is really important to folks at home.
So that's pretty prohibited now?
Oh, it's very prohibited.
Very prohibited?
I don't know if there's scales of prohibited, but yes, it is. I think working with Senator Van Hollen, working with you, working with a lot of folks and the advocates, it is done, and with the caveat being that it has to remain open to the extent possible for public use, which is really important. Another under what we have not talked about in that bill, I did a tour of every Maryland military installation last year, and whole day long meeting with base command, meeting with enlisted members of the armed services to hear kind of the quality of life challenges they experience, and then going out of the fence and meeting with the business community and hearing all of the jobs that go into supporting our defense community. And when I was at Walter Reed in Montgomery County, they mentioned that they have the capacity. They serve active duty military and the best in the world, especially around not limb replacement, but prosthetics and people who've lost limbs, and really great on traumatic brain injury. They have capacity to serve not just active duty, but also veterans. And obviously we have so many veterans in this community. And so I thought I'd have to wait until next year to work on that. Turns out I have a Republican colleague from Kansas who has a similar Army hospital in the same position with capacity, with medical staff that need to keep up their certifications and keep up their training, who also want to open up access to veterans. And we partnered in conference committee of that bill last year, and we got it done. And so,
oh, really? So Walter Reed's now going to be open to veterans?
It will be open to veterans, which will be huge for.
When?
We're working on the when,
Okay,
but they are now allowed to do it, and now we got to work on the implementation plan and obviously the getting the word out plan. But
we will have to let our Veterans Commission know.
Yeah, no, we want to partner with everybody because I think that's the question you've gotten asked and I get asked, like, from a voter, how is my life better?
Because of what you do?
Because of, like, if I vote for you, how are you going to make my life better? Yeah. And I think those are some small wins that I've been able to get in the minority by partnering with kind of out-of-the-box people to get that done. And that's what I'm really focused on, are those tangible wins back home.
Yeah. Yeah. So you
asked me about the Bay, though, and I did not answer you.
Well, yeah, I know. We had talked about their blue catfish and all kinds of things.
Yeah. So on blue catfish, and we tried to approach this work as it's obviously impactful to the Chesapeake Bay. Blue catfish are super invasive, have no natural predator, are just vacuuming up baby oysters and rockfish and all these things.
I gotta say, I've been out there on my pontoon boat and I can't catch any. They say they're everywhere and I haven't caught one yet.
You shouldn't use it because I think you don't have the license, but electroshocking is the best to get them out. But for folks listening at home, if you see it on the menu, eat it. It's delicious. It's nutritious. It's not your typical catfish, so it's not a bottom feeder. And they're really, really tasty. Eat it. But we wanted to zoom out and think about, okay, this is a specific crisis to Maryland and Virginia. But invasive aquatic species are a problem across the country. They have zebra mussels in California. They have Asian carp in the Mississippi River. They have snakehead in Arkansas.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't forget our snakehead.
I know, and it just so
they
happens
say they're delicious too.
That I've actually never had snakehead, and I need to. My Republican chair of the House Natural Resources Committee is from Arkansas, so I went to Congressman Westerman and I said, you have snakehead, I've got blue catfish. Let's figure out a way to tackle both together. And so we put together a pilot program specific to blue catfish that we hope to expand across the country. We need to eat our way out of the problem, so order it. But also, we can create a pathway to get this blue catfish or other invasive species to the pet food industry, who are in constant need of cheaper protein. And if we can keep that all in the country, we're cutting down on shipping and we're cutting down on greenhouse gas emissions, all those things. And we need to make sure we're compensating watermen for catching those blue catfish, especially the ones that are too small or too big for public consumption.
I just had a great idea for a fast food restaurant, man.
What's it called?
Just the catfish or just the invasive. I don't know what you call it.
Yeah.
I don't have a name yet.
Okay.
But if it was simply just the invasives in the Bay and it was just around here, you get your fried catfish po' boy and like they do it down in New Orleans.
It's delicious, yeah. So the bill passed committee, and it's going to be on the floor next week, and it's my first bill, standalone bill. It's by itself on the floor. We got stuff done, like I said, through the NDAA last year, so wins. But this is really exciting and a bipartisan, again, it feels small.
Yeah.
But it's important.
You don't have to agree with the person on other stuff. You just have to agree on that bill. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
And we're doing oysters and freshwater mussels next.
Oh, really?
Which is exciting. Yeah. Not for pet food, but
I
for
know
other
you're
things.
an expert on oysters.
I can nerd out all day on oysters.
Yeah. So what else? I mean, okay.
Yeah.
How about once, let's say you'll have the majority.
If I am not in the minority next year.
Yes. The majority.
Yes.
Let's just throw in there that the Senate does the same thing. How does the world change for you?
Well, I think we have to be ready on day one to deliver. And I have this kind of internal but like discussion within our Democratic caucus around we need to be big and bold with our vision and our agenda. But we also have to think about what is implementable quickly that is actually going to positively impact people's lives. And those are the things I want to work on. So, for instance, what we're going to do, what bill we're drafting right now, is based on a Maryland program, and you've done such great work on highlighting the child care affordability crisis here in Anne Arundel County.
We have highlighted. We've not fixed it.
We've highlighted, but it's going to take. I think for folks listening at home, and I used to teach public policy to really bright young students, and I would always try to convey to them, you're not going to fix policy challenges that are decades, if not centuries old with one bill. Like it's going to take multiple things to actually move the needle and help people again. One thing we want to work on nationally is a program in Maryland that when we lost so many child care providers during the pandemic, especially home-based child care providers, we lost 800. And that's, it's not like child care was affordable or accessible pre-pandemic.
You're talking about in the state, or you're talking about in the state of Maryland? Okay.
And it's just when we don't have that supply side, we're just exacerbating the affordability crisis. So there's a program in Maryland, it's very small, and it focuses on helping child care-based, family-based providers who are just so happen to be like 99% women and vast majority women of color who want to open a child care facility in their own home. It helps them with startup money. It helps them cut through the red tape. It helps them with their certifications and the regulations and, buying the furniture that kids need. And that program has been so successful. It's opened up 3,000 child care seats in the last 3 years. Yes, really? And it's only in a couple of counties. And it's I used to be an appropriator. It only costs the state.
Why is it only in a couple of counties?
Because it's only funded at $430,000 a year. And don't worry, I've already talked to my friends at the State House about plussing that up.
But was it set up as a pilot for those counties?
I don't know if it was a pilot. I'm not sure the history of it, but the point is, I think it's a...
Well, I'm going to find out because I want it in Anne Arundel.
It's a super creative way of you're going to have to tackle this problem 8 seats, 10 seats, 5 seats at a time in order to open up access for parents.
And you can move a lot faster that way than building a child care center.
100%. And that's not going to solve all the problems. We still have a workforce problem. Like I've been to every base I've been to, military base in Maryland, every one of them has a great CDC, Child Development Center. There's a few that can't even open the classrooms because we don't have those early childhood educators because we're not paying them enough. We don't have thoughtful strategic workforce pipelines of getting kids in high school excited for this and then to community college. And then how do we do that? So this is not going to solve all of it, but I think it's a creative way of taking one of the most inaccessible things right now, which is childcare, that has ramifications across the economy.
For the economy.
Yes.
I mean, businesses are desperately saying for their workforce they need this.
And women disproportionately are making the economic choice to stay home if they can't make enough money to cover childcare bills.
Sure.
So if we can, that's the kind of I don't think that's going to make national news, but that's the kind of program that I want to focus on in Congress and actually get those seats available and open doors and help communities that need it the most.
That's the thing that is so exciting about working at the national level is
challenging.
But when you win big, right? When you get something done, it's everywhere, and often you find the things at the local level that work.
Yeah.
and then you can convince all of your
but
colleagues.
Our best ideas come from, we have a town hall later tonight. We're going to get some good ideas from that, and I'm really grateful you're doing that with me. I came from Anne Arundel Medical Center today.
For those who are listening, by the time you hear this, it will have been last week.
Yes, but it's going to be great, I assume.
Yep.
I was at AMC this morning doing I've been to every hospital in the district, and I learn more every time I go, and we talked about workforce challenge that they're experiencing, that they don't have enough nurses who want to go into the operating room, or they don't have enough, various kind of like technical, don't necessarily need a bachelor's degree jobs that make the hospital run. My role in Congress is not dissimilar from my role at the State House, and your role. We have this wonderful magical power to convene, maybe not legislate a solution if it takes convening.
Done that, regardless of what seat you're in. But yeah.
He's being kind. He means that I force him to meetings with a whole bunch of other people to solve these problems. But it works. And so we thought today, and I'm going to put it out into the universe because we're going to make it happen, we're going to convene the hospitals in our district. We're going to convene the community colleges in our district. And for listeners, my district is half of Anne Arundel, all of Howard County, a little bit of Carroll County. And then convene our community colleges and our four-year universities that have nursing programs. And how do we get everybody at the table to have this open dialogue about what are the mismatches in workforce pipelines and workforce needs. And that doesn't require legislation. That's just me using the power of my office to force people to sit at a table, brainstorm, strategize, and deliver for our constituents.
However, when you do go to introduce legislation that comes out of these meetings, you can say that you convene people.
Yeah. And we have a good one this year as we're preparing for this upcoming NDAA. It came from our domestic violence roundtable. I don't represent Fort Meade. I have the fence line of Fort Meade, but I represent the YWCA, which does tremendous work, and thank you for helping to fund them.
Federal earmark, thanks to you.
Well, it's an incredible organization, and part of it, the challenge, and we haven't quite wrapped our head around it, so I don't want to make promises on the podcast, but it's one of those policy challenges that we need to solve. And we've made great progress. I don't want to disparage my predecessors. Like when it comes to military, sexual assault, domestic violence, we've come a long way. Still so much work to do. The fact that a protective order on our side of the fence doesn't necessarily translate to on base and vice versa is a problem. And just like we have memorandums of understanding.
Separate protective order, it doesn't,
We could do better. We have memorandums of understanding between any base and Anne Arundel County Fire for mutual assistance, right?
Yeah.
We can do something around those protective orders. So that's something I'm thinking about that came from one of our roundtables. Because, again, the best ideas for bills come from, those discussions and people just calling our office with an idea.
Yeah. So you were around visiting the hospitals, and obviously you know something about the way changes to Medicaid and Medicare and eligibility and from the big, beautiful bill. And we in the Anne Arundel Health Department are preparing for that, trying to help people get through the process so that they don't lose their health insurance. Do you have any thoughts or advice, or what are you hearing people are doing?
So what the county exec is referring to is the president calls it the big, beautiful bill. We call it the big, ugly bill from last July. It was the largest cut to Medicaid and SNAP in American history. It was such a large cut to Medicaid, it triggered an automatic cut to Medicare. And it represents potentially tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of Marylanders becoming ineligible for Medicaid. And what we talked about at the hospital this morning, and I talk about everywhere I go, is when people don't have health insurance, it's not like they don't get sick. They just don't have access the way that you and I have access through our employer-based health insurance. And the plan for when they do get sick is to go to the emergency department. And Maryland already has the longest wait times for EDs in the country, which is shameful. There's a lot of good work going on. When I was at AMC this morning, they showed me some of the creative approaches they've taken to help open up beds and help get people through, and they've done great work. I was so relieved to hear their work around, in partnership with EMS, getting folks off-boarded from ambulances into the ER and checked in, because that was a huge problem. When you and I first started running for office, it was a huge problem. 2 or 3 hours EMS were sitting at the emergency department that they couldn't go out and respond to other calls. So they've made great progress there, but there's more to do. And that progress will just be totally slashed if folks don't have a primary care option.
There'll be a flood of new people coming in that weren't there before.
And it's a system, and you pull one lever and something else breaks. And if you pull this Medicaid lever without providing affordable options on the exchange, which like my colleagues on the other side of the aisle and the president also decided not to renew tax subsidies for folks on the ACA, which is, a huge issue we talked about ad nauseum last fall, but really important. 190,000 Marylanders were able to afford their health insurance because of those tax credits.
And now it just got a lot more expensive.
The amount of people who have called my office, I see on Facebook, I'm sure we're going to hear about it at the town hall, their premiums just skyrocketed.
Yep.
And I know you know this. It's not just folks on the ACA who had their premium spike. It's also employer-based health care.
Yep.
And one major employer in the district, not in Anne Arundel County, told me their premiums went up by 19%. It's a major employer in the district. So it's not just the folks on Medicaid or the folks on ACA. It's across the board.
Yep.
And again, I've not seen substantive policy solutions to this crisis coming from the other side of the aisle, and that,
Well, it was a policy solution that created the crisis.
Right.
So,
and listen, I want the president to succeed if it means my constituents have health care, right? I'm not rooting for anybody to fail at this.
Yep.
So it's an obligation you and I have to continue to put these ideas up and work with whoever wants to work with us to find a solution.
So what are some other things that you expect? We have this town hall tonight.
Yeah.
I know you've got a lot of people signed up. We're both going to be there. Did people send in some of the questions that they were going to ask or the things that they want to raise?
We got questions.
What's on people's minds?
I'm not sure if my questions are in my memo, but typically, because this is the 22nd town hall I've done
Okay.
in 14 months in Congress.
Wow.
And we do, listen, if I could go back and tell myself a year ago, there's no perfect way to do a town hall. I don't know if you know this.
I've done a lot of town halls.
We've done really big town halls. We did like an 1,800-person town hall at first. We had to turn people away.
Yeah.
We had all these audio issues because it was a huge auditorium. Imperfect way to do a town hall. Then we went to let's do 7 in small library settings. Mm-hmm. And then a lot of people didn't show up, which is fine. We still did them. And then we do virtual town halls. We do telephone town halls. And it's just the right answer is all of the ways consistently to make people feel like they have access to us.
Yeah.
Is the right way to do it.
Well, I hope people appreciate that you don't have to do them. And
not all of my colleagues do them, no.
A lot don't. Yeah.
And I get yelled at these town halls, and that's okay. I always hope to not get yelled at, but this is a fraught moment in our country.
Yeah.
And people's lives are really impacted, be it by affordability, be it by the weaponization of ICE, be it by what's happening in the Middle East right now. There's a lot that people are rightfully angry about.
Scared and angry.
And when I was first elected, I talked to Congressman Sarbanes regularly, and I talked to Senator Cardin regularly.
Your predecessors. Yeah.
Yes, and I talked to Senator Mikulski regularly. And Congressman Sarbanes said something I thought was so, at the time I believed him, but I hadn't experienced it. He said, so much of your job as a member of Congress under a Trump presidency, because he had Trump won, is about pastoring to your constituents. Because people come up to me at the grocery store. I'm sure people come up to you at the grocery store.
Yeah.
And particularly because I represent 45,000 federal employees and 2 to 3 times that in contractors. This time last year when DOGE was at its height, and people who had dedicated their entire careers to federal service were getting summarily fired, in some cases without 2 weeks' notice, without a severance, or programs people have been working on for their whole life, be it at museums or libraries or the CDC or NOAA, and people come up to you in tears wanting you to save their program or save their job. It's really challenging because you and I got into this work to help people and solve problems.
Right.
And it's been a really challenging year that I have not been able to solve every problem for everybody. But I have been able, I hope, to be there for people on their hardest days. And my office, we're so laser focused on casework. I know yours is too. When people call us and they're struggling to get their IRS tax refund, or they cannot get an appointment at VA, or they've been waiting years to bring over a family member from another country through our broken immigration system. We are there to answer the phone, to be a respectful, empathetic voice. And we've had a lot of wins that way. Yeah. And that's my job at this time.
That we don't know about, that are quiet.
Yeah, either
personal.
Quiet wins.
Yeah.
I get a weekly report, which is wonderful, of the wins we've had that week, and they're small. We were able to get someone's passport. We were able to get somebody $10,000 in their retirement savings that was held up by Social Security. Things that are so meaningful to an individual, but aren't newsworthy.
So tell us about who does that. You have a staff,
I have
right?
a wonderful staff. Yes, yeah? I have a wonderful staff. Very experienced staff. the good thing about when you have 4 members of of 10 of your congressional delegation retiring last year, we have wonderful staff from all their offices with experience that I could hire. And so we picked up folks from every office who had experience. And our district office is in Columbia in Howard County. I live in Annapolis, so that's kind of covered. But we have staff who, again, have buckets of issue areas, and they are just crushing it every single day, helping people.
Yeah, you do have some great people. And for people to get in touch with your staff, people who have constituent issues, how do they go about that?
Oh, I should have prepared to answer this question. Elfreth.house.gov is the right way to get us, and you can fill out many forms there if you have a question about a bill that I voted on, or if you have a casework issue, again with IRS or VA, you can fill that out. If you just want to give me your opinion, that's great too. You can all go elfreth.house.gov. Always. Can I plug? We also, if you have a young person who wants to serve at one of our military academies, we are crushing it this year in terms of acceptance rates at Naval Academy in particular, but all of our service academies. That's something to be very proud of. Young people want to serve.
So you write letters of recommendation? Is that how that works?
Oh, we nominate. Yeah.
Oh, you nominate?
It's so cool. I get to nominate. Yeah. And
I remember hearing that Naval Academy, you had to get a member of Congress and put your name up.
I don't want to overpromise. I just got another West Point appointee today.
Oh, yeah.
But I make those calls myself, which is really cool.
Really?
It's like few moments of joy in this job.
To talk to the applicant or to talk to?
Yeah, I called the young person, the 17, 18-year-old who got accepted, that we had nominated, and the Naval Academy or West Point has accepted.
Oh, so they get a call from Congresswoman Elfreth.
before they get their letter in the mail or in the portal.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah, so that's really cool. So if you have somebody, you can apply via our website. If you need a flag, if you need whatever, all on that website.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I got to say, this has been really fascinating. We could talk for hours and hours and hours, but we're going to have to close up here in a minute. So is there anything that we've missed that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I think one of the things I worked on at the State House really hard was Chesapeake Bay. And one of the reasons you had asked me why I ran for Congress, that was one of the priority reasons. I wanted to make sure somebody in the congressional delegation continued to carry the mantle, as Congressman Sarbanes and as Senator Cardin and Senator Mikulski carried this mantle, not just for the state but for the region. And we've been able, like I said, to do good work via my time on armed services and supporting the REPI program, which you have been a beneficiary of over the years to conserve land.
That REPI program, I will say, is one of the reasons why Quiet Waters Retreat exists, the land that was going to be developed adjacent to Quiet Waters, grant from that. And then there's another one that I think we're going to have an event for, because you really made this one happen with the Chesapeake Conservancy, just Saltworks we call it, just north of the Annapolis Mall.
It's really exciting.
Yeah.
So
protecting that land. Yeah.
I get to do some Chesapeake Bay stuff through that. But on natural resources, we talked about fisheries and blue catfish, oysters and freshwater mussels. But also, the last thing I did in the state Senate before I came to Congress was called Whole Watershed Act. And it was this crazy, radical idea of all of the lessons I've learned in 6 years working on that at the State House, but also 6 years on the Chesapeake Bay Commission, working with colleagues in Pennsylvania and Virginia, Republicans and Democrats alike. And it was this radical notion that we have to go bigger, bolder, and faster in our restoration work of the Bay. We've done these traditional kind of random acts of restoration, one project here or there, and make us feel good, and you and I get a ribbon cutting out of it, and it's great. But that's not actually moving the needle on water quality, and it's not getting us a higher grade on the report card. It's not getting more people access to the Bay. So the whole watershed was all about how do we pick 5 major rivers, watersheds, in the state that are different, urban, suburban, agricultural, one that's attached to a different state, and do 30 or 40 projects in that watershed and think about public water access and carbon sequestration and tree plantings and freshwater, throw everything at one watershed in 5 years. And can we move the needle on that watershed? And one of them is the Severn River, which is super exciting because it's right. I did not, to be clear to the listeners, I did not pick the Severn River. We let other people pick it. But I knew we'd have a lot of really great brainstorming and strategic watersheds across the state and people thinking, again, bolder, bigger, faster.
I got to tell you, though, so first of all, I was so excited about the grant program for the watershed, the whole watershed program and the application for the Severn River. And last week on this podcast, I had Eric Michelson,
Oh, nice.
and we were talking about the process. And he reminded me that it was your bill. I'd forgotten that. I guess I thought it came out of the blue.
There's 6 hard years of work.
I mean, the Moore administration has taken this, and with Josh Kurtz at the helm, it's really exciting to me because you did it in a way where, and I think the governor gets this too, where it's an opportunity to engage everybody.
Yeah.
It's like a community organizing exercise at the same time. It's an environmental protection exercise, and just brilliant work. Thank you.
Part of it came out of just utter frustration as an appropriator, and in every year that we were delayed in a permit on a restoration project was millions of dollars in taxpayer money being wasted and the project not getting done. And take St. Luke's in Eastport, for example, for folks listening. That took 3 years to permit that stream restoration project.
Yeah.
And we just have an obligation to move bigger and faster and bolder.
Yep.
So we just filed a bill with Senator Alsobrooks at the federal level requiring, part of the idea is that everybody works together. It's radical, convening. DNR, MDE, Department of Agriculture, local governments for the permitting side, nonprofit organizations. Yep. But I couldn't legislate mandating EPA be at the table when I was a state senator. So now I can. And it's really important to have those partners in Army Corps for certain projects. Really important. Everybody's at the table. Everybody's moving with speed. Everybody's moving with purpose, and everybody's moving together. So I'm really excited for that bill.
I got to tell you, it is so exciting and gratifying to see you take what you're good at and take it into Congress, even though it's a frustrating place to do it. When the seat opened up and we had a conversation, my question was, you going to do it? And I think I was, one of the early birds to get out there and support you. But again, we're not being political here. But
it's teamwork.
The reason I did it is that you have this drive to understand everything, to understand the nitty-gritty, to understand what you need to understand about a policy area. And then you do convene people, and then you do come up with legislation. And the longer you're in this work, the more you're going to see these wins, like the whole Watershed Act. And sometimes people won't give you credit for it because they'll forget, that it was you or whatever it is, and it doesn't matter. But
no, credit's not the point. It's the thing is happening, which is awesome.
I'll even say it. Shit's happening. So thank you for making shit happen, and thank you for being our Congresswoman. Thank you for being on this podcast. And I will say one thing is that this would happen anyway. You get the last word.
Okay. Not that I have a script in front of me at all. You're listening to the Pittman and Friends podcast. If you like what you hear, please hit the subscribe button, share with a friend, and join us for the next episode.